I will not support any trade agreement that I don't think creates more good jobs with rising incomes. That's why I'm against the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's why I voted against the only multilateral trade agreement that came before me when I was in the Senate. I have a record that is very clearly on the side of working people.
We need a new set of trade policies designed to protect working families and the middle class, not just the CEOs of large corporations. If corporate America wants us to buy their products, they have got to start manufacturing those products in Indiana, in Vermont, in America, not just in Mexico or in China.
All right, you heard Hillary Clinton and Senator Bernie Sanders defending their stances on trade agreements and what they believe is best for America's manufacturing. With Indiana's primary day just 3 days away, all eyes are on the Hoosiers and their manufacturing hub. So let's take a look at the difference between both the candidates on the Democratic side. Joel Trachtman is a professor of international law at Tufts Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. Thank you, Elizabeth.
I want to break down these two candidates. I want to start with Bernie Sanders, and we made a couple screens for people to look at, help to break down some of their policies. So Bernie Sanders, first and foremost, does not support any trade agreements. He wants to avoid trade deals that benefit corporations, and he wants to withdraw from the World Trade Organization. I want to ask you, what makes his stance so unique before we get to Secretary Clinton's stance?
Well, other than Donald Trump, I think that Bernie Sanders' stance is unique really in recent American history. The idea that we would withdraw from existing trade agreements, and even as he voted in 2000 to withdraw from the World Trade Organization, the multilateral organization that includes 164 countries, would be very strange, and it would reduce export opportunities for U.S. businesses. And if the United States raised tariffs and other import barriers in response to the termination of those agreements, it would make goods and services much more expensive for American people.
We look at Secretary Clinton, and she doesn't have, like you said, quite as, if you would, a harsh stance. And I want to put up some of the bullet points that we looked at from her record. First and foremost, she's still open to trade agreements if there's a safety net in place for job retention. We know that she supported free trade agreements with Chile, Australia, Singapore, Morocco, and Oman. She opposes the investor-state dispute settlements in the TPP, which we've heard quite a bit about. Does this jive with her record, with her history?
Well, as you know, her history has been largely to support trade agreements. She voted against the Central American Free Trade Agreement, but generally her history has been to be in favor of trade agreements. I think she wants to be selective, and her main point has been that we need to make sure that we take care of the workers who are competing with imported goods who lose their jobs in an appropriate way in order to have those trade agreements. And I think she recognizes that there are other workers who are involved in exports who will get more jobs and better pay because of those export opportunities that those free trade agreements provide.
We've heard Senator Sanders hit Secretary Clinton really hard on some of these points. Does he have the upper hand in this dispute here, especially as we head ahead to Indiana? A lot of those voters do care about where their jobs are going.
You know, free trade agreements provide opportunities for export, and they make sure that we have cheaper goods. But on the other side, so there are export jobs that we get, but on the other side, import competing industries sometimes contract. As a net matter, we get wealthier. And so I think that Bernie Sanders seems to be ignoring some of those opportunities for exports and the desires of consumers for cheaper goods. In Indiana, where the primary is coming up, there are exports of goods and important exports of agricultural products. And if we don't have the free trade agreements that we have, and if we don't sign and enter into some of the free trade agreements that we have the opportunity to enter into, the people in Indiana will have fewer opportunities for export, and they may pay more for their consumer goods.
Sure. Well, Joel, I certainly wish we had more time. It's really interesting to hear your perspective in breaking down what can be some very complex issues. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.